So let's get started. Yin is traditionally a slower class where we turn inward and get into meditation. But I think since a lot of us are sitting around a lot with the shelter in place, it's nice just to start the class with a little activity and maybe loosen up our necks and stuff. So let's go ahead and stand up. And we'll start by, these are warm-ups that I learned in Hridaya yoga in Mexico. There's a set of 7 exercises. The first one, we're going to do some neck rotations. So you lower your neck down, then drag your neck across your chest, and then up and over to the other side and back down. So you can go at any speed. You can have your eyes open or closed. So we're trying to stretch the different muscles of our neck. So as we rotate around, you may feel the pulling on your neck, different areas, which means you're doing it right. And then coming to the center, switching around the other way. And coming back to center, lift your eyes up and look straight ahead. So the second exercise is what I call neck flicks. So it's 2 to the left, 2 to the right, 2 diagonal left, 2 diagonal right, and 2 up and down. So left, 2 right, 2 diagonal left, 2 diagonal right, and up and down. So go ahead and continue that at your own pace. Again, you can have your eyes open or closed. And maybe do one more set and come back to the center. So we're just trying to move the neck in all its different directions. It's an amazing joint, can move not only 360, but up and down and pretty universal rotation. So the next exercise, the third one, is side-to-side neck bends. So moving your ear towards each shoulder back and forth. And again, you can go any speed you want. Let's see if you can get the momentum of your head, the weight of your head, giving you a little bit more pull as you come down on each side. And coming back to stillness in the center. The fourth exercise I call sexy dance. I don't know what it's really called, but you lift your shoulders up and down. So you don't want the lower part of your body moving necessarily, just your upper body. So we're just working the upper part of the spine. And then coming back to stillness. If you're just joining us, and if you can turn on your video, that would be great. We're trying to see each other to encourage the feeling of being together. None of us are staring at the screen, but it's just nice seeing people out there. So fifth exercise is a twist. So separating out your feet about mat width distance apart. You're going to swing to left and right using the momentum of your arms. So as you turn one direction, let that hand land on your heart, and the other direction, the other hand. And the secret to this is try, again, not to move your lower part of your body. So as you swing to the right, that means that you're going to push your right hip forward a little bit so it doesn't follow it back. And then vice versa on the left. So it's not this, it's this, or more like that. Again, trying to intensify the twist in the spine that way. And coming back to stillness. The sixth exercise is just forward folds. So inhale up, exhale forward fold. Inhale up, exhale forward fold. Inhale up, exhale forward fold. And let's do 3 more. Inhale up, exhale forward fold. Inhale up, Exhale, forward fold. And last one, inhale up. Exhale, forward fold. And coming back. And then the seventh exercise is I don't know what these are called. I call it a squat forward fold maybe. So separating out your feet a little bit wider than mat width distance apart. And so you inhale, and as you exhale, you bend forward and look underneath between your legs. As you inhale, come up, placing the heel of your hands right in your hip creases, and then straighten out your arms so the leverage of your straight arms is pulling your spine straight. So that's on the inhale. Then we hold that inhale. And then as we exhale, we stand up. So inhale, exhale, fold, looking between our legs. Inhale, coming up and holding the inhale. And exhale, coming up. So everyone, why don't we do 3 more times at your own pace? Perhaps you can hold the inhale longer on your own. So inhale, hold. Exhale up. I'm going to continue. I'm not going to guide the last 2. Just at your own pace. And then bring your feet back together. Let's get down onto our hands and knees into tabletop. I'm going to adjust the screen a little bit here. So we did quite a bit of neck articulations and spinal articulations. Let's continue with the spine a little bit with doing some cat-cows. So with the cat, I always get backwards. With the cow, you let your belly fall and look up. That's on the inhale. And then on the exhale, you suck your stomach into your spine and look down. That's the cat. And then at your own pace with the breath. So inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. So now we're articulating the pelvis a little bit along with the spine. And continuing to do that maybe 5 more times. If you want, you can add some organic movement in. Maybe shaking your hips around. Or you can keep just with the straightforward cat-cow. And maybe 1 more of each. And then coming back to neutral. So we have our hands directly below our shoulders and our knees directly below our hips. So let's work a little bit on the core, waking up the core. Extend out your right hand and your left foot, keeping your left foot flexed. And then as you exhale, bringing your knee to your elbow. Inhale, right hand out, left foot back. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale out. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale out. Exhale, knee to elbow. Let's do 2 more. Inhale out. Exhale, knee to elbow. And last one, inhale out. Exhale, knee to elbow. And bring your right hand down and your left knee down. Let's switch sides. Your left hand out, your right foot back, foot flexed. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale out. 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 Let's do 2 more. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale out. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale out. Exhale, knee to nose. Exhale out, and go ahead and come down. And while we're here, let's take advantage and let's do a little bit of a wrist stretch. So taking your right hand, turn that around so your fingers are facing towards you. And then sitting back down, you can make some nice circles with your hips. You should feel the stretch on the front side of your wrist. So go ahead and do a few circles in one direction. And then switch directions. And then coming back to center, switch sides. So rotate your right hand forward, your left hand back, and do some more hip circles. And then the other direction. And then coming back to center and bringing both hands back to where they were. And so let's go ahead and get started with more of our Yin class now. That was a bonus warm up for us since we've been fairly inactive and staring at the screen a lot. So if you haven't already, go ahead and grab a cushion. If you don't have a cushion to sit on, you can get a big towel, warm it up, not warm it up, wrap it up nice and tight, and then go ahead and sit on it. So I'd like to start and end class with just sitting in silence a little bit to kind of feel into and explore our inner landscape. And we'll be able to compare how our inner landscape looks at the beginning of the class and at the end of the class. So sitting on the cushion or towel, you can let your hands fall wherever they are, hand palms up or down, whatever's comfortable. Sitting up straight with your heart forward. Go ahead and close your eyes, and we're going to spend just a few minutes here. Just coming into the space, trying to let go of any thoughts that are still wandering through our head, maybe about what's been happening today. So Yin Yoga was developed by Taoist monks in China as a way to help them prepare for meditation. Because the monks understood that there's a strong connection between the body and the mind. Specifically, that if we can slow down our body, our mind will follow along and also slow down. So in Yin Yoga and in today's class, we're going to be practicing that principle of slowing down our body and trying to get our mind to then slow down. So during these first couple minutes, just try to get a feel for how active your mind is. And it's kind of fun to compare how it feels now to how it feels throughout class and then finally at the end of class. The key players in the mind-body connection is the breath. So we'll be focusing quite a bit on our breath in this class. The breath connects the mind and the body. If we can focus in on our breath, it helps still our mind. We can use it as an object of meditation. And it's something we always have with us. So we don't need any external things to meditate. We can always tune into our breath. So as we sit here in stillness, see if you can start paying attention to your breath. How does it feel during the inhale? How does it feel during the exhale? And we will keep coming back to the breath during the class, trying to identify more and more aspects of the breath. But for now, let's just focus on the main goal of trying to slow down the breath while at the same time deepening it. So when I say deepening it, I mean taking deeper, bigger breaths. So as you inhale, go ahead and let your belly, your abs relax so your belly can expand out. And then as you exhale, bring your navel in towards your spine as you push all the air back out. And continue doing that as you continue to try to slow down the breath as much as possible. I'm going to be quiet for the next minute or so you can kind of listen to yourself without my voice. So I'll check in again in about a minute. So we're trying to leverage the stillness of the body to still our mind. So before we get into what are classical yin poses, let's do one more intermediate exercise called ultra slow movement. So instead of jumping right into complete stillness, we're going to kind of trick the mind into getting there by ultra slow movement. My tongue is twisted up. So anyway, so if your eyes aren't already open, go ahead and open your eyes for a moment. So we'll stay in the seated position and we're going to move our neck ultra slowly around, very similar to the exercises we were doing, the warm-up exercises we did. So we start with our chin on our chest. And there's going to be 6 segments of movement, and I'll walk us through as we go. But during each segment, as we move our chin from one place to the next, we're going to take quite a bit of time, 1 minute per segment. So the whole rotation of our chin will take 6 minutes. And so, for example, the first segment will be starting with our chin on the center of our chest and moving our chin to our right shoulder over that minute. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll guide us verbally through the exercise. You don't need to look at me. Hopefully my instructions will be clear enough. So starting with your chin on your chest, take the next minute, starting now, to ultra slowly drag your chin so it ends up over your right shoulder at the end of this minute. Let the full weight of your head hang, so you're gently pulling on the opposing neck muscles. About 15 more seconds to end up with your chin over your right shoulder. And then for the next minute, go ahead and continue to look backwards. You're adding a little more twist to your chin. It's hard for me to look at the timer and do this, but again, hopefully my instructions are good enough, even if I look at the timer. But so you're looking behind you, twisting your head, looking behind you. And you want to have enough effort to feel a constant tension, but not where you're straining yourself. So go ahead and do that for the next minute. This exercise is also nice to address another aspect of yin, which is holding our muscles in slight tension for a period of time to encourage them to relax. And when the muscles relax, the fascia, which surrounds the muscles, also relax, which is what is really our goal. About 15 more seconds. And from here, the next segment is moving our chin so it ends up pointing straight up over the next minute. So ultra slowly moving from our chin pointing backwards to ending straight up. So all our muscles and organs in our body are surrounded by fascia, which is like a thin membrane. And by holding muscles for a couple minutes, as we do in yin yoga, it allows the muscles to relax, but also the fascia to relax. This allows the more free flow of prana energy, or prana, which is life energy, known as qi, C-H-I, in Chinese tradition, or ki, Q-I, in Japanese tradition. It's what animates us. About 15 more seconds. And by freeing this energy, it helps us gain more emotional balance and quiet our mind. And then from your chin pointing straight up, the fourth segment will be over the next minute to end up where your chin is over your left shoulder. So go ahead and take the next minute to ultra slowly move your chin so it ends up over your left shoulder. It's just a single movement. So you're not going back and forth, you're just slowly, ultra slowly moving your chin. So it should almost feel, or it should feel like you're not moving, but in reality you are. Can you move so slow that you can't feel the movement, but you know you're still moving? About 15 more seconds. And then from here, let's continue to look backwards. So now adding a twist on this side, looking behind us with enough effort to create a little bit of tension on the neck muscles. The next minute. So this ultra slow movement is an intermediate exercise in yin poses, which we're going to do next. We try to come to complete stillness. So we're giving our body and our mind this little intermediate space to slow down, and then we'll try to bring it to a stop. About 15 more seconds. And then the sixth and final segment is returning our chest to the center, returning our chin to the center of our chest. So over the next minute, dragging our chin ultra slowly so it ends up back where we started. And about 15 more seconds. Go ahead and raise your head up. You can open your eyes. And maybe just take a minute or so to just feel, does anything feel different? I know just from that 6-minute exercise, I already feel my energy calming down, which is nice. My mind is slowing down, so it feels like it's working. Then tuning back into our breath. Continuing to slow down our breath, continuing to deepen our breath. And when you're ready, go ahead and remove whatever you're sitting on. And we'll get into our first yin pose, which is going to be Sphinx or seal, depending on your flexibility. So we'll have a few options here. The first one is Sphinx, which is your elbow directly beneath your shoulder. Regardless of what pose variation you're going to choose, you want your feet to be about mat width distance apart. I'm going to rotate a little bit here. So your feet are about mat width distance apart. Your feet are not flexed. Your elbows are directly below your shoulders. Your hands are straight out in front of you. Fingers spread. If you would like a little bit more of a stretch, you can come into a seal variant. And you do that by coming onto your hands and straightening out your arms, maybe keeping your hands about mat width distance apart. And if you're feeling extra flexible tonight, you come into full seal, which is bringing your thumbs, bringing your thumbs together so your thumbs are touching down the length of the thumbs, straighten your arms, and you can see why it's called seal, because you start looking like a seal. So choose whatever variant you'd like to hold. We'll be holding this pose for about 4 minutes. So now we're getting into traditional yin poses. The idea is we hold the poses as still as possible. And we continue to focus on our breath. It's helpful to keep your eyes closed once you get into the pose. Sphinx or seal pose is stretching the front, several of our large muscles in the front side of our body. So once we're in these poses, try to jump right back into paying attention to your breath. Continuing to slow it down, continuing to deepen it. Many times in classes focus on the stretching of the fascia, which is true and it's important. But that happens whether we're thinking about it or not. So it's not necessary for us to talk about what's happening. The energy flow throughout our body along the fascia is going to happen regardless. So I tend to focus more on the breath, which takes a little more active effort to continue to keep returning to focusing on that. But all the different aspects of yin are connected. We're helping the energy flow throughout our body, which calms our mind. We're stilling our body, which calms our mind. And for the last minute of every pose, I like to challenge us by trying to be completely still. even though we're mostly still, there's usually a little bit of fidgeting or swaying back and forth in all poses. So it takes even a higher level of concentration to come to complete stillness. So for the next minute, see if you can do that. See if you can stop all fidgeting and adjusting while continuing to focus on the breath. Stillness is a skill, it takes practice. And I'm always amazed how not still I am. When I feel like I'm still, when I really pay attention to my body, something's moving just a little bit. So some of it is not only the ability to be still, but the ability to detect when we're not being still. About 15 more seconds. From here, let's slowly move into our next pose, which is going to be a counter pose. We're going to do a seated forward fold. So go ahead and grab that towel or whatever you're sitting on again. Anytime you're in a seated pose, it's good to be sitting on something because we want our hips to be higher than our knees. So by sitting on something, it tilts the pelvis forward and keeps our hips above our knees, which keeps the pressure out of our hip joints. Many times, at least in Western cultures, maybe all cultures, we sit like this, cross-legged with our foot underneath our, one foot underneath the other leg. But if we take that foot forward, you can see it allows the knees really to come down to the ground. So whether you're in yoga class or anywhere, see if you can adjust your sitting to have, just always think knees below your hips. And you'll find it to be more comfortable and a more healthy way to sit. So we're doing a seated forward fold, so go ahead and extend your legs. After I said all that, go ahead and extend your legs forward in front of you. And inhale your arms up, take a big stretch, maybe a slight back bend. And then come forward and see where your hands are going to naturally land. Maybe they land on your shins, maybe your toes. If you're a little more flexible, you can get your hands all the way to the bottoms of your feet. But instead of rounding a lot during this pose, try to keep your chest forward. So as we stretch up, and you can come back and stretch up if you want to try it again. Raise your arms up, stretch up, and then come forward, leading with your chest. So your chest is leading the effort forward. And then once you have that nice stretch in your spine, you can round down your head, let your head rest. And if you want, you can apply a slight pull with your hands to deepen it. But again, yin is more about passive poses. So it's not we're trying to have an active pull necessarily. This pose is a little bit of an exception because the slight pull does facilitate the stretching of our back, but don't pull too hard. You're not trying to necessarily get to your maximum flexibility. You're just trying to encourage the stretching of some of the large muscles now on the back side of our body, in our back and the back of our legs. And once you've come to stillness again, jump right back into paying attention to your breath as you slow down and deepen your breath. And again, we'll be here for about 4 minutes total. We've already been here over a minute. So as we observe our breath, we may start to see that there's much more than just two parts to the breath. There's the inhale and exhale, but there's also two other things which maybe we don't pay attention to as often. There's a pause at the end of the inhale and a pause at the end of the exhale. So the breath cycle is actually made up of 4 parts: Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. So part of slowing down our breath is starting to extend out those pauses. You do that by holding your breath, but not constricting your throat. So you stop the diaphragm movement, but you don't close off the throat. So you don't want a big sigh or puff of air when you decide to exhale, for example. It should be a smooth transition between all 4 parts of the breath cycle. So go ahead and start trying to extend out that pause, those pauses. And paying attention to what it feels like and what it sounds like maybe during each phase, each of those 4 parts of the breath cycle. So again, we are trying to get our muscles to relax by holding these poses for several minutes, to relax the fascia with the ultimate goal of allowing our life energy or prana to flow more freely throughout our body. And then for the final minute, see if you can come completely still. So scan your body. What is still moving? Can you stop it? In about 15 more seconds here. And then slowly coming back up to sitting upright. You can remove whatever you're sitting on. Next, we're going to try a new pose for me, or newer pose for me. If you were here last week, we tried it and it was questionable, but like everything else, takes practice, so we're going to practice it again. It's officially called cat pulling its tail, but I renamed it splatter cat because that's what it felt like, my interpretation. So to get into splatter cat, go ahead and lay on your right side. You want your right arm straight out, resting your head on your right arm, and your hips are stacked right on top of each other. One foot is on top of the other. So a key element of splatter cat is that your hips are going to remain stacked like this, even though we're going to be shifting around. So try to keep that in mind. So go ahead and bend your top foot, your left foot behind you, and take your top hand to reach towards, to either grab, or if it doesn't reach, that's fine, just towards the foot. And then come back and roll, keeping your hips vertical. See if you can roll so you can get both shoulders on the ground. We all have different flexibility. So some of us may only get this far back, some may get all the way down. But approach your shoulders to the ground if they can't get all the way down. Your right arm is still straight up. So you've rolled off your right arm and approaching, looking straight up. You should start feeling a stretch on the front of your left thigh, your quads. And you should feel a nice spinal twist. If your hips start to roll over, which is very natural, just tune into them every now and then, push them back up, which may cause you to roll back up. So it's kind of a balancing act. You're trying to get your shoulders down, both shoulders onto the ground, while keeping those hips vertical. And we'll be here for about 3.5 more minutes. I apologize if that's really noisy. I was trying to move the timer, but my keys are clanking around. Hopefully it wasn't too loud. So once we find the stillness again, the balance in this pose, focus back on the breathing, extending the pauses in the breath cycle. And perhaps you can start thinking about your breath, kind of similar to what we were doing earlier with ultra slow movement. You start thinking about your breath in that way, breathing in an ultra slow way. So perhaps you don't even feel your breath, your diaphragm moving, your stomach going in and out. But obviously you are breathing. Or you know you're breathing. You could hold your breath, but eventually you can't hold your breath forever. But it is possible to move our breath so slow that we don't feel it. And that's kind of what we're headed towards while we extend out those pauses. About 90 more seconds. If you want a little more stretch, I forgot to mention, you can kick that front foot a little bit out. And you really start looking like a splattered cat. But that's optional. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to balance if you do that. And then for the final minute, see if you can be completely still. This is a little bit of a balancing pose, so extra challenge for complete stillness, but let's see how well we can do. In about 10 more seconds. And then slowly, let's switch to the other side. So the easiest way to do this is bring everything kind of back in line. The arms and legs are back in line. And then push yourself up, spin around. So getting yourself in one big line, resting your head temporarily on your left bicep, stacking your, I'm having trouble balancing on this side, which is okay. Stacking your hips vertically, so this time the right hip is on top of the left hip. Go ahead and bend your right leg back and then reach your right arm back. Maybe they touch, maybe they don't. It's fine either way. And you can let your hand and foot fall towards the ground as long as it doesn't pull your hips along with it. So again, we all have different flexibility. I can't quite get my hand and foot down to the ground, but maybe you can. That's advanced splatter cat, I think. And then, if you like, you can, not if you like. Well, yeah, let's do that next. If you like, you can kick out that left leg a little bit forward. So that's optional. Makes the balance a little more difficult. And then the final part is rolling back onto our right shoulder. So moving towards trying to get both shoulders onto the ground while keeping our hips stacked vertically. So it's a little bit of an awkward pose. If you feel awkward, if you feel like a splatter cat, you're doing it right. And then once you've settled into the pose, focusing back on your breath. So you may be wondering, why do we care about these pauses in our breath cycle? Isn't it better just to keep breathing? Well, we are continuing to breathe, but these pauses are actually very important because these pauses are the stillest part of the breath cycle. So as we inhale or as we exhale, our diaphragm is moving. But as we pause at the end of the inhale or pause at the end of the exhale, our diaphragm stops moving. So it's one more part of our body that comes to stillness. And as we talked about at the beginning of class, there is a direct connection between body stillness and mental stillness. In Sanskrit, the term is kaya stairyam. Kaya stairyam means the immobility of the body induces stillness of the mind. That's what we're doing in Yin Yoga. So with a still diaphragm, it's one more layer of stillness to help us have that much stiller of mind. So we've been focusing on our breath, slowing down our breath, expanding those pauses. The next level of meditation depth here would be to start observing our mind. So as we get deeper into a meditative state, we maintain everything we've talked about so far, the stillness, the observation of the breath, the extension of the pauses. And then on top of that, we then start trying to observe, what is our mind thinking about? What is the mind feeling? Can we observe our mind and not get caught up in what it's thinking about? We have about 1 more minute. So again, trying to achieve complete stillness in this awkward splatter cat pose. In about 15 more seconds. And let's come out of here the same way we came in, so straightening out our legs and arms. And we're actually going to come into a pose that this is halfway there. We're going to come into bananasana. Hard for me to say. Banana with an asana again. Bananasana. So go roll on your back with your arms and legs extended. And bring your right leg out as far as it will go. And move your left leg next to it. And do the same with your upper body, your right arm out as far as it will, and bring your left hand so it meets your right. So you should start feeling like a banana curving to the right. If you want a little bit deeper stretch, you can take your left foot and hook it over the right. And you can take your left hand over your right palm. So if you achieved your bananasana pose correctly here, you should be feeling a pretty good stretch down the left side of your body. We're bending to the right, stretching our left. And we'll just be here for about 3 minutes on each side. So tuning into your breath as you continue to slow it down, as you expand out the pauses, as you become the observer of your mind space. Perhaps you can start identifying some emotions that may be associated with this pose. It's very interesting that the body stores all sorts of things, emotions and trauma, but positive things as well. So as we stretch out these muscles, especially some of these larger ones, it's quite normal to experience different emotions or thoughts as they are being released from being held in the muscles. So it's not only our brains that store memories, our muscles also store memory. So see if you can tune into, even if you can't identify a specific memory or even a specific thought, see if you can identify what's it feel like? What's the general gist of sensation in this pose? And if your mind starts to wander, which it will, part of meditation is accepting that our minds will always wander, but they will start wandering less and less the more we practice meditation. But if it does wander, let's go back to the steps you did to get here. So coming to stillness, focusing on your breath, expanding the pauses, and becoming the observer. In meditation, the phrase, keep coming back. So our mind will sweep us away at times, just keep coming back. And eventually it stops drifting us away as often. And then for the final minute on this side, see if you can come to complete stillness. So scan your body for even the slightest movement. About 15 more seconds. And then let's go ahead and straighten out again, coming back to center. And you can wiggle around a little bit. Sometimes a little bit hard coming right back from center after we've been pulled off to one side. So coming back, recentering yourself. And then let's switch to the other side. So extend your feet out, your arms out. And then take your left foot out to the side and bump up your right foot next to it. Take your left hand to the side, bump your right hand next to it. And for a little deeper, you can hook your right foot with your left leg, and you can stack your right hand on top of your left palm. Trying to keep both shoulders on the ground as much as possible. So it's more of a side stretch versus forward bend. As you go through the steps of focusing on your breath, the pauses, observing your thoughts and emotions, see if you can start to differentiate what feels different on this side, both in terms of physical sensations. Our bodies are very asymmetrical, so one side usually is stronger than the other. One side is usually more flexible than the other, not necessarily the same side. But in addition to the physical differences, can you identify perhaps different thoughts or emotions with this side? We're stretching a different set of muscles. So it makes sense that different emotions could be stored in them. We continue coming back to our breath anytime we find our mind wandering. And then for the final minute, trying to be completely still again. And about 15 more seconds. Great. So let's come out of our banana poses. Straighten out again. And when you come back to center, go ahead and do a big stretch Feet away from you, hands away from you, like you're just waking up. And when you're ready, let's come sitting up and come turning around back to tabletop where we were during our warm-ups. So next set of poses is going to be pigeon, which is one of the, I think one of the most important yin poses because it's dealing with the largest muscles in our body, which means the more muscles and fascia we're dealing with, the more effect we can have as far as loosening the fascia and freeing memories and emotions. So from here, I like to come into pigeon through downward dog. So go ahead and push your feet into the ground and strain your legs. And while we're here, you can walk the dog by alternating your feet into the ground. In downward dog, you want your hands about shoulder width and your feet about hip width, distance apart, so everything's in alignment. You want to push with the J of your hand, your thumb and forefinger into the ground. And as you're pushing your hands into the ground, you want to pull them apart. You don't want them to move, but you want the sensation of pulling them apart, so pushing in and out. And same with your feet. You want your feet pushing down into the ground and then pull them out. So both your hands and feet have tension being pulled away from them. And then lifting your hips up. You can come up, if you want a little more movement in downward dog, come up all the way onto our tippy toes, pushing at our hands, get a nice high downward dog, and then lowering our heels back down. And when you're ready, inhale your right foot up and exhale it so it lands on the outside of your right foot. And then let your right foot scoot across the mat so your shin, your front shin, ends up fairly parallel or close to parallel to the mat. Untuck your back foot and use the toes of your back foot to pull that leg further back. And we have several options here for pigeon. We can stay here. If you want to come into sleeping swan, you can extend your arms out in front of you. And if you want a little more twist and challenge, you could twist towards your front leg. I'm facing the wrong direction for the camera, so I'm going to turn around really quick. So we're here. So twisted pigeon. You twist towards your front knee, and you have your hands in prayer position. If you can get into this pose, this variation or close to it, some variation of it, it's a nice stretch through the IT band and glutes and stuff. But any of the variations are completely fine. Find something that is challenging to you, applying a little bit of tension, constant tension on your muscles, but not too painful. So out of all the yin poses, again, I find this one to be the one where I tend to experience the most emotion. So see if you can quickly get back into that state we're in, focusing on the breath, focusing on the pauses, becoming the observer of your mind, trying to tune into the feelings that are coming up by being in this position. We'll be in this pose about 4 minutes on each side. So as we approach the 2-minute mark here, since we are dealing with large muscles, they tend to also relax a little bit more because there's more of them to relax. So if you like to get a little deeper into the pose, you can use your toes, back toes, to again pull that leg further back. You can either add a twist if you haven't already, or you can deepen the twist more towards your front knee. Or you can stay right where you are. That's completely fine too. We're talking about a lot of things in class today, a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to do. That's intentional. Hopefully it's not confusing. But we want to keep practicing this layered approach to deepening our meditative state so it becomes second nature. That way we can start taking this ability, this skill that we've been practicing out into the real world when we're feeling anxious or depressed or lonely or any agitation or stress. We can just naturally just pull our minds into this quieter space and get some relief. Then for the final minute, trying to be completely still. Can you identify, can you label the emotion and emotion you might be feeling in this pose? About 15 more seconds. Let's switch to the other side. I'm going to turn around so I'm facing the camera, but you do not need to turn around. So coming back into downward dog again, and you may be a little stiff or tight, which is totally normal after coming out of pigeon. It is one of, again, a deeper pose with bigger muscles, so just take it slowly. So you come into downward dog. Go ahead and walk the dog, alternating pressing your heels into the ground. And then come up onto your toes, pressing your hands and toes on the ground, lowering your heels back down. And when you're ready, inhale your left foot up this time, and exhale your left foot outside of your left hand. And then scoot your left foot all the way across the mat. Untuck your back toes. Use your toes to pull that back leg further back. And choose what variation you want to stay in. You can stay right here. You can come into sleeping swan, extending your arms out in front of you, forehead to the ground. Or if you want to come in twisted pigeon, you can twist towards that front knee, keeping your hands in prayer position. This side may be different, either more flexible or less flexible. Completely normal. And then coming to stillness and diving back into observing your mind. What feels different on this side, both physically? My glutes, for example, feel much tighter on this side. But can you tune in beyond the physical? What different thoughts or different emotions might you experience on this side?
We're about 2 minutes in, so again, your muscles may have relaxed a little bit. If you want to try to deepen the pose, you can use your back toes to pull that leg further back. You can add or deepen your twist, or again, you can just stay right where you are. And then for the final minute, trying to be completely still, identifying any parts of your body which may be fidgeting or adjusting, trying to still them. About 15 more seconds. From here, let's see if we can transition smoothly into a seated twist. So pushing yourself up, coming down, sitting down. See if you can swing. If you don't, it's totally fine. This is just a little bonus move here. But see if you can swing your back leg all the way around so your right foot ends up on the outside of your left knee. If for whatever reason that didn't happen, that's fine. Just come and join us. So your left knee is front and your right foot is outside your knee. And once you're there, go ahead and lift up your left hand and hook it onto the outside of your right knee. Your hand can be straight up like this. It can land on your shoulder, or it can land on your hip. Wherever it naturally wants to be is fine. We're only going to be here for a couple minutes. Taking your right hand, press the heel into the ground. So we're using the leverage of a straight arm to lengthen our spine. And then as you inhale up with a long spine, twist to the right. As you inhale up, lengthening your spine. As you exhale, twist deeper to the right. It's always good to do a twist, at least at the end of a practice, to realign your spine. But especially after any deep forward folds or back bends, it's always good to do a twist to let the vertebrae realign. So if you're ever in a class that doesn't end in a twist, just do a quick one at least before you leave. About 1 more minute. Again, we're only here for a couple minutes, not very long. About 10 more seconds. Great.
So let's switch sides. We'll try to do a little fancy. Take your hands behind you, lean back on your hands, and just switch which leg's up, which leg's down. Come back, sitting up straight. This time, lift your right hand up, hook it on your left knee. Again, the hand can fall wherever it does. Mine tends to fall on my shoulder. Taking your left hand this time, pressing into the base of your spine to help you get a straight spine as you inhale up, lengthening your spine. Exhale, twisting deeper to the left. Do that a couple of times, inhaling up. Exhale, twisting to the left. We'll be here for a couple minutes. We've done quite a few deep bends, both forward, backwards, and also to the side. So we've had our back and neck, we've given it a good stretch in many different directions, which is great. And then for the final minute, trying to achieve complete stillness, tuning back into your breath if your mind has wandered. About 10 more seconds. Go ahead and unravel and twist. So we'll end class the same way we started it. Go ahead and grab that towel or whatever you're sitting on. And again, try to have your hips above your knees. The same thing as we did at the beginning class. Let your hands fall wherever they fall. Sit up straight. Lead with your heart. If you want, we can have a mudra here, so you can connect your thumb and forefinger, or thumb and middle finger. It's up to you, totally optional. Some people find a flow of energy that way. And go ahead and close your eyes, and we'll just be here for the final 3 minutes of class. And see if you can recall what this sitting position felt like at the beginning of class. Can you contrast or identify any differences of what has changed over the last 70 minutes or so? Continue to play with your breath, slowing it down, expanding out the pauses. Letting your belly completely expand outward on the inhale and drawing your navel back towards your spine on the exhale. So full range of belly motion. Can you label any thoughts or emotions you may have sitting in this pose? Then I'm going to be quiet for the last 90 seconds, last minute and a half. So I encourage you to continue with this process. If your mind wanders, which is normal, just start over, focused on your breath. And I'll check in about 90 seconds. You can go ahead and keep your eyes closed. You're welcome to stay in this position as long as you want. It's a nice entryway into deeper meditative states. But we are going to end the formal class right now. I want to thank everyone for being here today, not only to support me, but to support the studio, Pacifica Beach Yoga. As you can imagine, it's been quite financially difficult for the studio, so we appreciate people continuing to be engaged with this studio. And I encourage you to visit the website, pacificabeachyoga.com. There's quite a few live classes like this one that are being offered, and they're all free. So the teachers are donating all their time, and I hope you take advantage of that to stay healthy, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. My name is John Thomas, and thank you again for taking my class. And I'll be teaching at least the next 2 weeks on Tuesday if you want to come again. Otherwise, maybe I'll see you in person. Namaste.